So this is my sketching process while at a cafe. I am just starting off with a really simple body sketch of a woman. I usually like to start with like the lighter marker first and then just kind of going off with a darker color. I don't really have like much of a preference of like what color I use after the base color, I guess, because sometimes I go from yellow to green, but I like the combination of the kind of peachy tone with yellow, and then on top of that I will kind of go in with a even lighter like coral pink for the shadows. So I wanted to make a differentiation, if that's the word, probably not, I don't know, between the skin and the clothes that she's wearing, because in the actual reference they had very skin tone colored, so I just went ahead and just went with yellow just to kind of make sure like it looked different. For the second reference, it is the same woman just like in a different pose, and again using a lighter color sign, but I'm not starting off with yellow. I just went ahead and used the lighter peachy tone, I think just because it was there, and I was like, you know what, I'll just go ahead and use this. After that, went again on top with the darker coral to kind of define the lines. And I like to use like thicker markers rather than finer tips to do my line art. I guess it's just like more of like my style. It's like a little more messy, but it looks a lot nicer to me. And I definitely struggled with the hand. I was a little confused, so that one's definitely a little bit more messy. Also, to clarify from earlier, it's not that I don't use fine liners. I think for like sketching in particular, like studies, I definitely like to use a little bit of a thicker marker. And because I use a thicker marker, it can kind of make it a little more difficult to do tinier details, especially with like the eyes. Like you can see that I'm just like kind of going over it again with a darker marker, and that's kind of how I try to get rid of the mistake, is that I will kind of go over with another marker to kind of blur it out and then go on top with a darker marker, so it looks more of like shading rather than like the line art itself. And because I messed up a lot on the hand, I decided that I should redo it just like to kind of give myself a little bit more practice with drawing like the arms and the elbow, because I suck at drawing wrists and elbows sometimes, and especially hands. I think that's something that I've gotten better, but that's something I still kind of struggle with sometimes, because I'm like, I don't know where the fingers go, why does it look kind of strange? But definitely in the second sketch I felt a lot more confident with it. And for the fourth sketch, just another simple pose where the person is just looking back and, you know, doing the same thing, but with yellow as the base, and then going on top of it with the peach, and just kind of layering. And I think that's something I do a lot, where I like to layer colors on top of each other. Maybe it's just because I really like the messy style, and that's why, but yeah, I also like people with short hair, so this was super fun to do, this particular pose. And for the last study, I wanted to do something a little bit more out of my comfort zone. I've been really trying to draw more defined bodies in terms of like people with like muscle. I think I definitely love drawing like curves and just more of people who have like softer bodies, I guess. Like, I think I need to really push myself to do more defined stuff, because sometimes I get a little intimidated because like, oh my gosh, like muscles and stuff. But I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go a little bit more out of my comfort zone. So again, I am starting with yellow and then going over with a peachy tone. And I like to block out the pose first, and that's also why I just start off with the really light colored marker, just so I can have an idea of like where I kind of want the body to like end. Also, just I want to do a little bit more planning on this page of like in terms of like where I wanted the person to be, so that definitely helped with that. And the reference is some person, I think a bodybuilder or a martial artist, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. But just sitting down, kind of having a good time. And I also really liked that this person was super defined, but also had like a bob. I don't know, very cool. So this is like where I kind of start getting in, and I start to struggle a bit again. But, I'm like pushing through. The hands definitely were quite challenging. I was trying to interlock them, or that's kind of how it was in the reference. And I was getting a little confused, like where the hands were going. So I was kind of trying to avoid that part. And I was mainly just kind of focusing on like more so the upper body, because it was a lot easier, just everything despite the hands. And with shading, I do like to do like kind of like hatch marks for my shading. And I feel like it makes it cleaner to see like the lines rather than just make it like a solid. And because I do the hatch marks, even if it does sort of become solid, I like to layer colors like constantly on top of each other, because it just makes it neater, also just a bit more defined rather than just like blocking out that entire space like up front with a marker. And then after that, just go again with a even darker tone peach. And I definitely was frustrated with the eyes and the face, again, with how I just like drawing with markers that are just a little more thicker. They don't have like a really, really tiny point. So it's just a lot harder to get precise lines. And so with the face, I was struggling a lot on it because the lines were not coming out as precise as I wanted it to. So it was making the face look different than the reference. But honestly, I think I still got the features down despite that, and I could probably just use a finer tipped marker or pen, but it feels more fun this way, so I will just continue doing that. This was my favorite part of the entire sketch, just that area with the armpit and the pants. There's just something about like the empty space, just I don't know, it just looks so nice to me. It looks really crisp. And this part with the hands, again, this is where I am struggling, fighting for my life, to really make it work. I think, as I said, because it's a little messy, it's not super noticeable, but I was really, really having a time. I was going at it. But I think it turned out okay so far. And I think, after this, I wanted to, further define the shadows, so more hatch marks, and see how a little bit of the color from the bottom peeks out from the bottom layer through that top line art layer. And I like how it does that, just like the overlaying. I just think it just reminds me a bit of like doing stuff with like watercolor, I guess. And I like how it just like peeks through, and that's why I don't just like block it out. Here I am trying to fix the eyes as much as I possibly can, and so with this particular paper, I noticed that like if I kind of would scratch at it, the color would come off. So that's what I was like kind of trying to do to kind of make the whites in the eyes, because I didn't have like a white pen or anything. So I was like, man, I feel like the eyes are kind of just like merging into each other, because when I start to layer colors, this paper is not really good for markers at all, but I just really like this paper. So that's what I'm kind of doing here. And then with the eraser, again, just like trying to sweep up as like much color as I can, and just making the eyes just as defined as I possibly can with the pencil. I don't know what it is, but I think at times I feel like if I use a really defined pen on top of these sketches, it becomes like too harsh. So that's why I decided to use a pencil, because I have like fine tip markers. Definitely on this day I had some, but I feel like you lose the softness of this particular sketch also. So Alright, and these are the final sketches of everything that I did during the cafe. Hopefully my ramblings made sense and it wasn't cringe or something. But yeah, I definitely want to make more of these. I am really liking how they look on the paper. But yes, feel free to like and subscribe for more videos, and I will catch y'all later.